just a bit of a recap of what we kind of covered in the last webinar and the things and stuff that's changed between now and then. So I guess the reason we've come together, just to reiterate, is to help streamline the front end of the buyer's agency process. So when we think about that process, we've essentially got leads coming through the door. We have some sort of qualifying call or sales call with them. Maybe it's qualifying call and then sales call. They pay their retainer. They pay their initial upfront retainer with you guys. And then typically the first session that they will do is this strategy session. So we sit down, we understand what the client actually wants, what their risk profile is, what their goals are, what their existing portfolio does. And then we map out a bit of a journey of where we are now to where we want to go to over the longer term period and plan that out from that side of thing. That's a big part of what we do at Gameplan. Typically, historically, what's happened after that strategy piece is you walk away with a brief for the next purchase. So as part of the strategy, in this next purchase, we might be looking at a 700K purchase price with a 5% yield and a minimum growth rate of 7.6% or whatever it might be. And so we take those numbers and variables and we put them into our research products. And we then come up with a short list of research locations that kind of match that brief of what the client's looking to purchase. And then we go out and do the sourcing, the due diligence, negotiation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, as kind of the front end process of the buyer's agent. Like obviously you've got handover and ongoing strategy calls and all that sort of stuff
they haven't.
as part of the process. Dara, do you mind muting yourself? Yeah, thank you. So, and that's probably just one thing, guys. If you're not on mute, just chuck yourself on mute. So as part of that front end of the process, what we have really come together is to try and streamline that. So as part of your kind of lead qualifying sales process, you can upload people into Gameplans, like your leads into Gameplans. You can kind of show them what the tool looks like. You can give them those insights. And then once they sign up, that's when you give them full access to the platform. But we want to automate more of that in terms of, well, when you actually do the strategy session with the client and you walk away with this brief, instead of going and putting it into all these different systems, we want to have that streamlined process so that you've got one location that you're going through. You can get all the data information. You're automatically being presented research locations that are suitable based on that strategy. And then even further, the next steps of individual property and everything else like that is coming into play over the long term. So, that's kind of what we've come together to solve. Just wanted to reiterate that from last session. And what I showed to you last session on our system was automatically bringing in some fields from Stash into Gameplans. So I'll share my screen and I'll kind of show you again what that looks like. And then we can go through some updates of what's to come in the future. So if you haven't seen Gameplans, this is the kind of client portal. This is the Stash login. So obviously if you've got a business brand, you've got all your colors and branding and everything else like that, it'll look and feel like an in-house product. And then you've got a list of clients here. These are just dummy clients with dummy data in them, but we're just using them for today's purposes. And so when we come into a client, the first thing that we'll be able to see is their portfolio up the top here. And a part of their portfolio, they go in and enter any existing properties that they might have. It might be investment properties, it might be a principal place of residence, it might be a commercial dwelling that they're using for their building. Whatever they've got in terms of their asset pool, we bring that into the system. Now, historically, when we entered these properties into Gameplans, it was a manual entry. So we'd come in, it typically have to be a big long form. We'd enter in the address, we'd enter, what type of property this is, how many beds, how many baths, da 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 da. But as part of the integration with Stash, what we're trying to do is, or what we have done, is try and highlight all the data and information that they already have in their system and automatically bring that in for you. So if I just come back and re-enter this thing, you'll be able to see, well, it's pretty quick. You probably can't see it, but there's like a little Stash loader. It comes in and loads exactly what the asset is. So how many beds, bath, spaces, all that sort of stuff. And we've also got a lead. Do you mind just chucking yourself on mute? Hey, Lee, by the way. Do you mind just chucking yourself on yeah, awesome. And then underneath there, we've also got a Stash AVM value. Now, this is a grayed out field because this is the value that we're getting from Stash. So it's non-editable, but we have a current market value, which is editable. So you'll bring in this AVM and it's just a good kind of indication of what the property potentially could be worth based on the AVM models that Stash have got. Now, you can decide to use this value, or you can always decide to use your own current market value depending on what you want to do. Like just say you've had a recent bank val and you want like that to be specific to the dollar, but we automatically bring this in for you so they don't have to go and find it or kind of try and do your own valuations online or look at, realestate.com or domain or whatever it might be. It's already there pre-populated for you. And so we're trying to automate and streamline as much of that data capture process. Typically, it takes anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes per property. So if your client's got their portfolio, it takes a little while to enter in all this stuff. So the more of that data we can capture and bring in, the easier that data entry process is going to be. So that's kind of the update that we did last time. And that data is all integrating, syncing in. Everyone loves it. It works really well, and happy days. So as long as you have a Stash authentication license that's active, or potentially a trial, that data and information will come through for all of your clients. You can actually be really selective with what information you want to come through. So say that you only wanted specific things to come through, like you only wanted, baths, beds, and cars. You didn't want dwelling type, a current market value, land size. You can tick those things off. So you can be selective with what comes in and what doesn't come in. And again, just to authenticate, you come into your partner profile down the bottom here, click authenticate with Stash. It'll take you through the normal login process and it'll bring back your key to authenticate your access for your clients. So what we have also done now as part of that process, given that we're bringing in all the fields, something that's completely new to Gameplans is we've actually created a new filter for clients, which is called equity. And really what we're looking for here is of all our clients, who are the clients that have a certain amount of borrowable equity within their portfolio that we could potentially extract. Now, to kind of demonstrate what this looks like, if we come into our second page underneath the client, which is called a maps page, which is just really an understanding of where we currently are in their portfolio and building it out. We've got a borrowable equity chart here. Now, given their existing portfolio, if they were to refinance everything back to an 80% LVR, they'd essentially have $2.56 million worth of debt. Their current debt is at 2.45. So the difference between those two numbers is 110 borrowable equity. So that's essentially what they can bring out from their current portfolio. Now, the thing about these numbers is obviously you're going to have to update the portfolio to update those things. So typically, some of our larger agencies will catch up with their clients every 6 to 12 months. And a part of that 6 to 12 month catch up, we'll be getting revaluations, we'll be updating the prices of properties, we'll be monitoring and everything else like that. But now, thanks to the integration with Stash, what we're actually able to do is run a weekly job, which just goes in, gets all new fresh valuations from Stash. And what that does is it updates all of our portfolio values. Obviously, the debts stay the same. If the debts do change, we need to update them if we're refinancing or whatever it might be. But at least the values are incrementally increasing. And so what we want to be able to do over time, instead of going, well, which clients has had a lot of growth, which clients might have enough borrowable equity or anything else like that, we've got this weekly job that runs that just gets a new valuation and gives us an indication if, say a client only had borrowable equity of 50 grand before, but now the value of the property's increased by 200K, let's just say. And we've now all of a sudden got a borrowable equity of $100,000 or $150,000 or whatever it might be. We would want to get an indication of when a client might be able to potentially go again. They've got enough borrowable equity to use the deposit to purchase another property. So that's where the integration of the equity filter has come in. And you can select at what price point you want it to set it at. Right now, two of the clients have 50 grand worth of equity. You can click on the two and it's going to highlight those two clients. But you might want to set this target at 100 grand. For example, as a minimum, again, we've got two. You might want to set it as a minimum of 200 grand. So all we're asking here is, of all our clients, who are all the clients that have more than 200K worth of borrowable equity? And now we've filtered it down to one, and we can come down to that list and we can see that it's this client. And so we can quickly go, well, this is the email, this is the mobile number. Let's get in contact with our client. Obviously, they've got enough borrowable equity to potentially go again. We can come in and revisit that for a later time, or sit down and do a strategy session with them to understand where they're potentially at again. So with the integration of the AVM coming in, we're able now to automatically update these valuations, so automatically able to tell you when some of your clients are now getting higher values, which means that they might have more borrowable equity to then continue their journey of purchasing more property. So just a much more streamlined process of understanding your clients, where they're at, and who to engage and talk to as different stages of your business. So that's kind of the second new thing that's come since the last time that we caught up. Other than that, really, when we finish doing a strategy with a particular client, we walk away with what the next purchase is going to be. And that essentially ends up being a brief. I don't know that this client has a plan in here, but the outcome of that would be like, well, what dwelling would we prefer? What are the beds, baths, car spaces, land size, all these other questions as well. And the goal for the next process of what we want to be able to do and achieve is now take that brief and automatically put it back into Stash, which is a part of what the process of the start of what Cole's going to show as well. With that brief, what are all the suburbs and locations and areas that are going to suit this brief? So we'll take those data and metric points back and go, okay, here's a short list of suburbs and locations that match that criteria. And then again, we move on to the individual purchases and everything else like that as well. So that's what we're looking to build out and is to come. And yeah, the fourth point I had was just the research reports being generated based on the brief, essentially. So as part of that process, we're again really trying to streamline from lead, getting into game plans as early as possible, showing them what's possible through the system, getting them full access once they've signed up with you. And then as soon as you do the strategy session, what used to take 3 to 4 weeks for a client, come in, welcome call, strategy call, go away, do research, might take a week, find individual properties, as a minimum, that would kind of be 4 weeks, if not 3 months. We're really trying to, you could essentially walk away from your strategy. You could book a strategy session with your client a day or two after they sign up. And then from that strategy session, you're walking away with a brief, locations and suburbs that match, and then potential properties as well that might suit that criteria. So that's essentially what we've come together to help you guys with your business. Cool. Well, I guess that's kind of Cole and Brett, essentially what I wanted to demo today in terms of what we're able to do in our system. I'm happy to hand over to you guys now if you want.
Is there any questions so far? Just feel free to chuck them in there. I think it's really important. Like, I think repeat business is obviously one of the biggest opportunities for what you're doing to help grow your business, and calling them, once every 12 months statically is good. But then if we can change that to call them in 7 months or 6 months or 9 months, we've just increased your business by 25%. So it's things like that can really help removing those assumptions and just going, you know what, every market's different. Your PPR might have gone up. Your investment property that you put them in last time might have gone up significant value. And you've seen a lot of that in certain suburbs where the equity has grown pretty quickly. And if just by getting back in touch with them, sort of the right conversation, right time type thing, they're the first person to try and get them into another property. So that's I think the North Star of what we're trying to do. One of the other things we're trying to do is not make you do things twice. So when you're working with a client, you're getting the details from them, you're putting it into game plans. We don't want you then having to push that data then into Stash, copy it across, and then having to do searching. So it's kind of like wherever you're comfortable with, whatever system, we're trying to keep you in that environment, trying to keep you going, yep, I've got my details from my brief. I'll put them in a property. Now it's time to go again. How do we, based on their brief, what suburbs match that and what properties are going to match that? And that's kind of the where we're sort of heading with this now. We've done the first part of that, which is basically let's sync the clients in from game plans into Stash. I'm not sure who else is on Stash already. If you haven't seen Stash, there's a lot to it. There's a couple of demos that we do every Tuesday and Thursday to give you the full run through of what Stash can do. But it's basically a platform which specifically for BAs, but it's got data on every single suburb in the country and every single property in the country. So there's 15,000 suburbs. When you're looking at a brief and going, what suburbs should I be trying to put people into? Based on growth, based on yield, based on 15 other factors, we can help you refine those 15,000 suburbs into a handful of suburbs that go, you know what, these suburbs match my client's brief. And it takes into things like the vacancy rates, the owner occupiers, even things like building approvals, making sure you're not putting a person into a suburb that's going to double in size next year. Like those sort of things are really important, good and bad, to try and make sure you're finding the right suburbs to really target in what you're trying to put people into. And then the properties is going, okay, what properties are out there that are either on market that match this brief? And more lately, we've been pushing more into the off-market space. We're seeing a massive opportunity in getting off-market properties into Stash, washed against briefs, and then delivered to BAs. So we're working with a lot of property sources on that. Stash has always had a lot of property sources using our platform. We just didn't really realize it. And they're looking at properties every day, finding off-market properties, working with agents, and then working with other BAs to go, I've got this awesome, 6% yield property. Anyone want it type thing. So there's lots of opportunity there. But in terms of, let me just give you a quick snapshot of what Stash in terms of the integration with Gameplans. I see some questions there, Brett. Yeah, you're all on top.
Quick question, guys. I have Stash. How do I get Gameplans into Stash?
You will get it in, hopefully, I'm going to stay up late tonight and I'm going to push it live.
Well, if I don't have it by 8 o'clock tomorrow, I'll read
it. You would, Ian.
I'm going to get my glass of wine in about 20, 30 minutes and I'll start making some things happen.
Oh, sounds great.
If I have 2 glasses, then it's probably might be.
Oh, no. Well, while you're at it, go for the bottle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, who knows what'll happen then? All right. I think you've got my screen, hopefully. I just lost where you guys are at. But let me just see if I can get you back. No. All right. You can see my screen? I just can't see you guys.
Yes, bud.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, if you haven't seen Stash, it's got data on every single property, every single suburb, and the type of data we got on, say, our property level is all the good and bad things about every single property. So social housing, how close it is to proximity. We integrate with other platforms like Pricefinder, National Property Data. I'm working on CoreLogic. But basically, we're trying to build out this platform which connects to all the different data sets that are out there, whether it's council, federal, other products, game plans. So that basically, wherever the data is, we're trying to bring it all into here and then sync it both in and out. So this has kind of got everything. You can do your CMAs in here, see how suburbs are performing on the growth. You've got your heat maps in here. So you've got literally 15 or 20 different heat maps from social housing to what schools are good schools and bad schools. How affordable are some of these suburbs? Pretty much anything you can possibly think of. Building approvals is a new one I added recently, which is really good in just terms of seeing those suburbs in those newer estates where, they've just doubled in size from a building approvals. Maybe their suburbs I probably want to avoid because of oversupply down the line. So you can bring all that in. All the suburb data's there, so charts and everything like that. But one of the things we do is around every property you see. So whether you get a lead from an agent or you find a property yourself, we're trying to help you keep track of all the properties that are kind of flowing through your inbox or throwing on your phone. And we can attach properties to people. So we can go, okay, you've got a property pipeline. I might be working with 10 clients at the moment. And I'm getting properties around what might suit them. So I've got a property here. I've added it to my pipeline already. And I think Tom's interested in this, but Jane might be interested in it as well. So I'll put it into her pipeline and keep track of all these properties that I'm coming across my desk, and I'm doing my due diligence on them and then showing them to Tom or Jane. And we're going through around investigating these properties or ruling them out and going, that's not a property for me. One of the things we had was then we had our clients. So you can bring your clients into here. And we basically had it manually. You add your clients into here, you add it into Gameplans, and you add it into here, and kind of that was just silly. So we kind of want to let's bring these two things together because Gameplans is kind of where you are putting your clients into. And we're just trying to make this simple of going, okay, let's connect those up. So I'm just going to connect my Gameplans. I'm going to chuck in my keys that I've got from Gameplans from my login, which is on that partner profile page, which I saw before. And that's all you need to do. And then pretty much what I'll get here, hopefully if it refreshes, because I did test this before, will be hopefully 3 other clients, which we saw on the login before. Hopefully. I think I've killed them. But yeah, there they are there. So I've just been playing around with these ones, but they're the 3 clients that we brought in. So I had 4 clients there before. I've just archived these when I was testing them, but they're those 3 clients that we saw in Gameplans. And then the plan is then how do we then make this even better? So when you're searching for properties, bringing in your clients from Gameplans, bringing them into here, and keeping everything in sync. So you just put them into one spot. You don't have to type them in again and again and again here. And then the plan of this is then, okay, let's take that further. Once we've got that data, we can then start to go, okay, what suburbs match this property or match this buyer brief, or what properties match this buyer brief, and either exposing it in here or exposing it back into Gameplans. We don't mind, as long as it's about the client at the end of the day. It's not really about us as such. It's about where do we get this the best experience for both you and and the buyer. So bring the clients into here. I haven't added any properties onto these, but
Howdy. Howdy.
So that's sort of the syncing of clients. So we don't want you to type things in twice. It's just go and stick it into Gameplans, click that button, and then magic will happen here, and it'll just keep up to date every single day. So there's nothing you ever need to do from a client perspective. The next page of what we're working with then is the brief. So then how do we then get that brief data and then help you then find suburbs? So things like if I had a brief in Gameplans and I'm trying to go, okay, what suburbs match that brief based on the data that I've got inside Stash? And I can go, okay, here's 6 suburbs, 7 suburbs that match that brief. Great. I'll present them back to my buyer or present them back into Gameplans. And then there might be some other suburbs that are like for like. So this is kind of where I won't say AI because it's a bit too thrown around lately, but it's kind of just, these are just statistics that match, what my buyer might be looking for. And I've said I found 18 other suburbs that could match your brief. Maybe I can have a chat to them about these ones. So depending on whether they're after PPR and got to be in a certain suburb, or if it's an investment, it's purely about the numbers. So that's kind of the North Star, is like, how do we understand out of the 15,000 suburbs, what are the 7 suburbs that match what my buyer is trying to do? And then from there, it's kind of like, okay, let's look at the properties. What properties are out there? Whether I've added them to my pipeline already, or we may have a lot of off-market properties, and I can briefly touch on that in a second. Or there might be, out of the 200,000 properties on the market, how do we know, based on that brief, which ones might match that buyer? So just trying to save you time in terms of whether it's off-market, on-market. Just save you time instead of having to go off and do all these searches, even on Stash. It can all do it for you and deliver it back into Gameplans or deliver it back into Stash. So that's kind of an overview of where we're at. I don't know if anyone's got any questions there, but in terms of the off-market stuff, so we're launching a new, we've launched a bit of an off-market platform at the moment, but we've got about, 30 properties in here off-market, but I've got about 600 properties ready to load. So there's so much off-market properties that are coming through. We're finding them every day. Our sources are working with agents to try and find these properties. So then based on whatever you put into Gameplans, based on that brief, there's going to be properties in the off-market platform. I mean, these are sourced from deal sources, so there is a fee involved with those ones, but there's plenty of stock there to make transactions just really quickly. So we want you to spend more time, working with your buyer, not necessarily more time finding properties and doing the R&D on a lot of these things. So we'll fully vet these properties. We'll add insurance quotes. We'll add the fire, flood, and all that sort of thing. So we only really want to deliver off really credible off-market properties through here. And it might be, it's not for everyone. It might be going, yep, I've got this buyer. They've unlocked a little bit of equity. They're looking for another investment. They're looking in Victoria or wherever it is. Here's 10 properties that might match that. Yep, let's connect the dots and away we go. Move on to the next client and go again. So it's all about just how can we help you put your buyers into properties quicker and increase your transactions every month. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. I'm going to launch that My Client or the Gameplans integration tonight. We're on the background working on, this will probably go live tonight as well, actually, this particular part from an off-market perspective. But there's going to be more stuff we're going to do in the suburb shortlisting and property shortlisting and getting that data back into Gameplans where you need it. So that's kind of where we're at.
Right now. So ideally, guys, on Gameplans, there's like a brief page when you walk away with the plan of what the client's after, and what Cole was just saying there is just trying to get this data information straight back into Gameplans as well. Yeah. So you can, if you want to and you select to, you could even start to show clients potential properties on the strategy call, which saves that whole process of research reports and sourcing properties and everything else like that. Again, as Cole said, it's not for everyone. It might not be suitable for everyone, but we want to give you the ability to do so. If there is something that you want to do, it's there, it's quick and easy and accessible as well.
Yeah. Our goal is basically saving time. I think I said this last night if anyone was on the other call we did, but it's everything we're doing is based on feedback. So like even the off-market thing wasn't something that we were thinking of 3 months ago, but then working with BAs are going, I can't find off-market stock, or it takes too long, or I just want to move on to my next buyer effectively. So we brought that in. We're working with people that are out there sourcing properties. They're already using Stash, which is already good. And there's just so much off-market stock there that I didn't realize was out. I mean, I knew it was out there, but getting access to it and how do we give it to the buyer's agent really quickly and then just letting you spend more time with your buyer or finding the next buyer is kind of the key, because you could spend all your time finding a buyer and then spend the next 3 weeks trying to find properties for that buyer. And then come the fourth week, you've got no buyers left. You've got to do it again. So it's how do we keep fueling you? Focus on where you're good at. We'll help you find those off-market properties and on-market, anything basically, just using data to match briefs with properties. And you guys just keep getting buyers through the door.
That's it. Focus on building the business, and we'll help you inside your business.
Hey, Jordan, quick question in relation from Katrina. How does Gameplans work and who to contact?
Cool. You can contact me or Christian, who's part of our team. I'll leave my email in the chat. And just feel free to reach out. It's just jordan@gameplans.com.au. There's a 7-day free trial for anyone who's interested as well, from our side. And then I know Stash are offering a trial from their side as well. So you should be able to have both systems up and running on a trial basis as well, if you want to as well. So yeah, best contact.
Just to be clear, Jordan, I would need to join Stash, which I am a member of Stash. Do I need to join Gameplans as well in order to have it integrated?
Yeah, so you can sign up to Gameplans as part of just the trial period or what it might be, and then you can integrate those two systems together. So underneath that partner profile where I was showing before, you just hit that authenticate button, and then you'll have the two systems integrating and talking together.
Sure, but I pay 2 subscriptions, one to Stash, one to Gameplans.
Separate products, correct? Yeah.
Yes, that's just want to clarify that. Yes, of course, you'll stay up all night and do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like I was at Domain and Price Funder for 20 years, and we bought a lot of companies along the way, and it was kind of like from a real estate agents to selling agents, and we kind of had all these products side by side, and they all used them, but connecting them, we weren't that good at. You had to use one, grab the data from one, put it in the next one, grab the data from that one, and put it in the next one. It's kind of like the 1 + 1 = 3. So we're going, how do we, work with other companies out there, other products that buyers agents are using, and just trying to streamline everything you're doing is kind of the goal with everything. So there's going to be more. There's so much more we're working on in the background, and Jordan's doing the same. So it's just unlocking so much opportunity with saving time at the end of the day. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, making your process easier.
And while we've got you, if there's any sort of feedback on how we can improve the integration, we'd love to get your feedback too.
Yeah, for sure. And that's pretty much how we build everything, is you telling us what to do. It's the easiest job in the world, this end. So
yeah, exactly. We'll build out whatever you guys need to make your lives easier. Where these are just a couple of things that the Brains Trust have sat down and tried to think would be good to have as an integration piece. But as we're building them out and as using the tools and putting things in different places and having a look and see how they look and feel, don't be shy to drop a feature request or send us a loom of a different way that you'd like to see it or a different way that you'd like to integrate it, and we can always work and improve it.
Yeah, tell us the problems. Tell us where you're spending a lot of time, and we'll go, how do we help solve that? How do we help make that more efficient? So yeah, it's kind of the key.
Hey, Julian, just looking at the questions in the chat.
Yeah,
We've got some retirement and passive income calculators in the system. So there's a chart called passive income stream, which essentially forecasts out over 30 years. We inflation adjust the number. So say your client wants to target 150K worth of passive income. With inflation, let's say in 27 years, it's going to be 280 grand or whatever it might be. So you can understand where the client is now and where their goal is, and then where they're going to be in the year that they want to achieve it.
Cool.
And you can see that all a part of the trial period as well. So essentially, if you just jump into Gameplans and go underneath your partner profile, you'll see a little button that says integrate with Stash. Go through that process, log in, you get your credentials back. And then with what Cole pushes tonight, vice versa, so that you'll have your credentials in the partner profile on Gameplans. And if you didn't see, but Cole just had like 2 simple fields that you had to enter. So you just copy and paste your secret key and stuff from Gameplans, and then put that into Stash, and then you'll have your clients coming back into Stash as well.
Cool. Yep, sweet.
Good stuff, guys. Well,
anything else? 8:01.
Yeah, let us know if there's anything else.
Quick.
Past Jordan's bedtime.
Let's get them in there.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate it.
That's all right. There's going to be a recording of this too, guys. So if you jumped in late or didn't get any, want to revisit something or have a look at something, we can send across the recording. We'll do it to all of our guys that have jumped on as well. We'll send an email out tomorrow, and all the links for the trial periods and everything else like that as well. So you guys will get a full update if you feel like you missed out on anything or didn't get any links. We'll send them all across tomorrow.
Sounds great. Thanks, boys.
Cool. No problem.
Thanks, man.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
seeing you.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Paul.
Lots more to follow.